Welcome back to the channel for yet another video, and in today's one it is the annual, or predicting, I was going to say reacting, that will come later, the annual predicting of the League 2 table from bottom 24th and relegated all the way to the champions of League 2. I've got my prediction here which I will be going through. I've got some notes and some things to talk about each individual team as well. Like I said, if you are a fan of one of these 24 teams, don't get offended by where I've put your team or anything like that. It is just purely based off opinion with some facts as well, which I've also taken into account. So like I said, going to get from 24th all the way to 1st. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And also let me know where you think your team will finish in the League 2 table. And let me know if you think I've got your team right, wrong. There will be a reacting video to this at the end of the season as well. So let's just get straight into it. Let's get some predictions perfect. Fingers crossed. 24th place and bottom of League 2 in my predictions is Harrogate Town. The Yorkshire side I have got to finish bottom of the league. They finished 19th last season, and on the basis of it you could probably say that they are likely to go down this season. I predicted them to finish, or I predicted them to go down the last two seasons, and they've stayed up in both of those two seasons. So unless something drastic happens between now and the deadline day, I do think Harrogate are going to go down. They have lost players like McArdle, who's retired, Dior Angus, who was obviously good for them. Alex Patterson has switched sides from Harrogate to Bradford. They have brought in some decent players as well. Matty Foles coming in is a good player, and especially Gibson coming in from Morecambe is another addition. But I know they've got Armstrong, and I know he is a real pivotal player for Harrogate, but I just don't think the goals of Armstrong and the creativity of someone like Gibson is going to be enough to keep Harrogate in the league, and I think they finally are going to drop back down to the National League. Let's see who I've got to join Harrogate in the National League. 23rd place then, I've got Crawley Town. Now, looking at it, Crawley Town last season finished 22nd and only just survived if it wasn't for Hartlepool and Rochdale being just as bad. And in terms of the players that they've lost, in terms of big names, James Tilley has left the club and he's gone to AFC Wimbledon. Armando Otter has left to go to Walsall. And they've also lost the big one, Ashley Nadesan, who has gone to Gillingham. You know, those three big names that have left Crawley Town, and not real much coming in apart from Danielle Orsi and Ashby Hammond on loan from Fulham. There's not as quality in the team as what you probably need to stay up in the division. Dom Telford as well. Is Dom Telford going to score the goals for Crawley Town to keep them in the division? I'm not too sure. I think that season he had at Newport County was a one-hit wonder, and I don't think he's really got the ability to match a season like that. So yeah, 23rd and relegated is Crawley in my opinion. In 22nd place and just avoiding the drop, I've gone with the newly relegated side, Morecambe. Morecambe did finish 22nd in League 1 last season and relegated back to League 2. And exactly the same position I think they'll finish this year, but in the league below, I think they're going to finish 22nd in League 2. Just run off a few of the players that they've let go. Ganawa, Hunter, Niasi has gone, Cooney has gone, Duffus has gone, Gibson, Ripley, Stockton, Sure, Obika, some absolute unbelievable players for that level have left the club, and they've not really brought much in terms of players that can emulate those players that have been let go. McKiernan has brought in, Stuart Moore from Blackpool has been brought through the door, Sonogo, Stokes, Jordan Slew. There is some players in there that can really, do bits for them this season, especially in Jan Sonogo. I think he will be a major clog in that midfield for Morecambe, but I just do think they're going to struggle heavily again. The players that they've let go is going to be a massive blow to them. I think they'll finish in 22nd and just surviving. Languishing in that area just above the relegation zone, I've gone in 21st place for Sutton United. Last season finished 14th. They've had an excellent start to life in League 2 the last two seasons. I think they finished 9th in their first season, 14th last season. And, they've really settled into this level, but there obviously was a drop-off from 2 seasons ago to last season. And I think that drop-off is going to continue, and I think they're going to drop off again from last season's 14th and finish in 21st place. Players they've brought in, they have brought in some decent players. Craig Clay coming in from Leyton Orient is a good addition. Jackson coming in from Cheltenham is obviously, you know, a very exciting one. And then Omari Patrick and Scott Cascott coming through the door as well from Carlisle, and Gillingham respectively. So they have brought in players which I think are going to tip them over the edge and keep them in the league. But Enzo Baldwin's left the club, Luke Gambin has left the club, Omar Bugle, Rowe. So there's players that have left the club that realistically they would have wanted to keep, but I think they will just have just enough quality to survive in 21st place. Stuck then in 20th place is my boys Newport County. Now, I don't want to be biased like I've done in previous seasons. Previous years I would just put us mid-table or playoffs, but this season I'm going to be realistic. I've put us in 20th. We finished 15th last season, but 15th with a team that also featured Cameron Norman, Priestley Farquharson, Aaron Lewis, Mickey Demetrio. Some really big players, Priestley Farquharson as well, some really big players in the team, and some very impressive loan players that we had on loan last season, Nathan Mariah, Welsh, etc. So, you know, we have lost them and brought in players like Kyle Jameson, Morris. I think Johnny Maxted as a goalkeeper is decent, and Ryan Delaney looks good. The loan signings of Adam Lewis and Seb Palmer-Holden are the main ones that I think are going to be the ones to sort of kick us on. In terms of where I think we'll finish, I've said 20th. I think we will just survive because we've got the likes of Palmer-Holden, we've got the likes of, you know, Omar Bogle up front, which I think is going to be a massive player for us this season. And he needs to perform if we're going to survive the drop in League 2. So I've put us in 20th. I'm not biased. I'm not saying we're going to finish 8th or 9th, but that could happen, you know, with a couple more decent signings through the door. But I put us in 20th place, and let's go on to see who I've got in 19th. 19th place, I have gone for Crewe Alexandra. Now, Crewe Alexandra finished last season in 13th, but again, the quality in teams, the quality in the teams in this division this year, I do think that teams are going to have, or some teams are going to have a drop-off from their finish last season. So 13th for Crewe last season, they have lost a J to Leyton Orient, McDonald to Harrogate, Mellor to Accrington. You know, Sambu has just walked out of the door, and, you know, some real players in there with a lot of experience and a lot of Football League experience for Crewe that have just walked out of the door. They have brought in terms of EFL experience, probably one of the most obvious ones in Newport County's captain, Mickey Demetrio, through the door. Cooney from Morecambe as well. They've brought in Shiloh Tracy. So they've tried to get rid of the experienced players and bring in some exciting players with a bit of experience as well. I just don't think it's going to be as effective as what Crewe Alexandra are probably hoping for. Obviously, they've got Courtney Baker-Richardson, which I think will score goals for Crewe Alexandra this season no matter what. So it's going to be an interesting one for Crewe. I've gone for them to finish 19th from last season's 13th. But yeah, let's get into the next team. Moving on to 18th place then, and I've gone for Crewe, for Accrington Stanley, not for Crewe. I've gone for Accrington Stanley. They did finish 23rd last season and relegated from League 1. And again, I've put another relegated League 1 side in the bottom half of this division. They got relegated from last season. They relegated from League 1 last season. They've not strengthened. They've lost a load of players. Clayton, Fenlon, Hardy, Morgan, Cisse, Sangare, Clark, Nottingham, Rogers, and they've not really brought players in that I look at and think, wow, they've strengthened the team from last season. They've brought in Andrews, Hills, and Shipley on loan from Norwich, and only Mellor is from Crewe, is the only permanent signing as of the time of recording. So, you know, their squad is very thin. Their signings have been little but far. And I do think that Accrington Stanley are going to struggle next season. They could even go down. But in my prediction, I've gone 18th. But like I said, it could be 19th, 20th, or even relegation. It looks that bad for Accrington on paper. Let me know your thoughts, Aki fans. Do you think it is as bad as what I think and what a lot of people think? But 23rd last season, I've got them to finish 18th and survive this season. 17th place then, I've gone with the U's, Colchester United. Last season in League 2, they did finish in 20th, but I do think they're going to have an improvement from last season. A couple of really exciting signings for Colchester United. They've brought in majority of loan signings, Lawrence from Southampton, Goodman from Crystal Palace, and Bondira from Arsenal, but they also brought in Ellis Iandolo from Swindon, which I think is a really decent move for Colchester. And they've got rid of some players that probably weren't going to be a part of the team next season, who are getting on in terms of Freddie Sawyers, Cole Skewes, obviously has retired, but, you know, players that, Chambers even, that are not really going to push Colchester forward in 3-4 years' time. They're probably going to be retired in the next 2-3 seasons, so they've released them now to save the worry or save the pain about doing it next season. So I think if they couldn't finish 17th this season, build on last season, they can then build on this season or in the transfer window and try and improve for the next season, and maybe they could finally get out of League 2. But this season, 17th, considering a lot of experience is going to be walking out the door, I think Colchester fans would take that for sure. In 16th place, I've gone with AFC Wimbledon. Wimbledon finished last season in 21st place, and they've brought in some very, very decent signings, which I think will push them up from 21st to 16th this season. Bringing in Newfield from Luton Town is a very good signing. Bringing in James Tilley, Omar Bugle, Johnson from Stockport. 3 players who have played at this level last season and played it to a very good level. Also brought in Ball from Rochdale and Reeves from Stevenage, which are some really good signings from AFC Wimbledon. And they've not really lost much out of the door. Marsh has left, Pierre has left, Chisler has left for Port Vale to go to a league higher, so you can understand why he's left AFC Wimbledon to go to League 1. And they have really strengthened their team. I think they've done quite well in this window. They've bought players, or they've brought in players well, who have been at this level before, or even last season, played at the level last season, and they've not lost too much in terms of, you know, real standout players that have left the squad. I think Wimbledon are going to have a good season this year. 16th place, but it could even be, you know, top end and maybe even pushing for a playoff place. AFC Wimbledon in 16th. 15th place, I've gone for Tranmere Rovers. Last season, Tranmere finished in 13th. I've gone 2 places lower than last season. The signings have been good again, but I think it's just the strength in this league. It's hard to improve, or, you know, and it's very easy to fall off. In terms of the players they let go, first of all, Mugbongo has gone, Nolan has left the club, Williams, Burton, Das is Cogley, Matthias Hevelt has gone from goal. Obviously, we've got Carl Jameson, Eric Bristow, not Eric Bristow, that's the dart player, Ethan Bristow, sorry, has left Tranmere Rovers. And they've brought in some, you know, real good names. Christian Dennis has left Carlisle to come back to this league. He done excellent last season, hoping that he could do that again. Luke Norris as well is a very good player. And Connor Jennings, we all know what Connor Jennings done the last time he played at Tranmere. Newport fans have very vivid memory of that. And the double signing from Forest Green of Hendry and McGee is some really decent signings from Tranmere. They've not lost too much, and I do think they're going to be in around that area again. I've gone 15th, and quite respectable for Tranmere. In 14th place, I've gone for Swindon Town. They finished 10th last season, and they were expected to definitely be up there in terms of the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to be there again this season. I think the teams that I've got in and around the playoffs, even from 1st to probably like 9th or 10th, so just very strong teams and very strong squads at those teams. I've gone 14th purely based us off Michael Flynn. I think Michael Flynn, obviously we know him, unbelievable manager, very good man manager, and I think he will get the best out of some of Swindon's players. In terms of the outgoings, Ian Dolo has left the club, Boucher has retired, Massey has gone, you know, Parsons has gone. In terms of the big names, I think the big ones is Johnny Williams going to Gillingham, and Ronan Darcy going to Crawley. It's a difficult one to predict with Swindon because it could also go very well. They've brought in Liam Kinsella, from Walsall, Dan Kemp on loan from MK Dons. So there are players in that Swindon team that can make things happen, and they've already got, you know, some decent players from last season. Charlie Austin, Rushton Hepburn Murphy. It's going to be an interesting one for Swindon, purely based off Michael Flynn. I think they'll comfortably survive, but we know what Michael Flynn can get out of teams. They could even sneak a playoff place. Swindon in 14th. Team that I've got finishing in 13th and just below mid-table is Barrow. Last season they finished 9th. I've got a little bit of a drop-off from last season from 9th to 13th, but that's purely based off a few of the players that have left the club. Brow, Ellis, Gordon, you know, the players that are pivotal to Barrow. Gordon leaving was a massive, massive blow. Ellis leaving as well. You know, experience in this Barrow team have left the club. They also have brought in some very, very good players. Obongo from Arsenal, Campbell, Doofus, Jamie Proctor, Worrell, and then they've brought Aqua in as well. You know, there's some players that have been brought in that will definitely improve Barrow's squad, and also to a team that finished very good last season and, you know, a strong team. But they do also have the capabilities of dropping down the table, I think. But it's going to be such a tight table between like 11th and 18th, 19th. I think Barrow will just find themselves in the middle of that and finish in 13th. Next team then I've got in 12th is Grimsby Town. They finished 11th last season and also got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, losing to Brighton on that day. I think it was 4-0, maybe 5, I can't quite remember. But yeah, last season 11th, this season I think they're going to finish in 12th. The players left, they've lost some real key clogs in their team. Orsi has left for Crawley, Crocombe has left for Burton Albion. You cannot argue for a player leaving for a higher team. And Bryn Morris, one of their, you know, major players, you know, a pivotal role in that midfield, has left to come and join Newport County. Players they've brought in though: Rose from Stevenage, Aisha from Bradford, Pike from Shrewsbury's come in, Morgan Rogers as well. And they have brought in some good players. Eastwood coming in from Sheffield United, Cartwright on loan from Hull. There is some real good talent in this Grimsby side, and I think last season 11th, I don't see any indication that they're going to massively drop off or massively go down the table, and I don't see them maybe the other way as well. A lot of people think Grimsby could face a potential playoff chase. I don't really see that in my opinion. I think it's going to be 12 for them, but it could go either way. Let me know your thoughts, Mariners. 11th place then, and the team just before we get into the top 10, I've gone for Walsall. Last season was very, very underwhelming from the players that they brought in. They brought in some very good names through the door at Walsall, and it didn't really live up to the expectation of what they probably think they should have got. But this season, I think they are going to improve from 16th and finishing 11th. Like I said, no more Michael Flynn. He was sacked. And Sadler, I believe, has come in. And the signings that Walsall have made, unbelievable signings. Priestley Farquharson from Newport. I know I'm biased, but one of probably the best centre-backs in the league. Hussey, James Taylor, Johnson from Mansfield, Stirk from Birmingham. Otet, obviously, as we know, from Crawley. There's some very real good names that have come through the door at Walsall. And they've not lost that much in terms of real quality. Tom King has left for Wolves, of course, but then you've got Timmy Abraham leaving for Boreham Wood. Kinsella's left the club. Joss Labadi has left the club. Manny Monte has left the club. So there are players leaving there that probably, if they had them, that with the additions that they've got, they could face a playoff place and maybe even automatic promotion. But I think Labadi leaving, Manny Monte at the back, two big signings for two big losses, sorry, for Walsall, which I think they'll just miss out on the top 10. Let's have a look at that top 10. Starting off the top 10 then, I've gone for a relegated team from last season. I've gone with Forest Green. Forest Green finished bottom of League One last season. An atrocious sort of performance from Forest Green across the season. Just never really looked at home in League One, and hence why they came straight back down in 24th place. I think they are equipped for League 2, but not quite ready for that step up to League 1. I've got them finishing 10th. And to be honest, they could even push for a playoff place. The players they've brought in, Teddy Jenks coming in from Brighton, Daniels in from Middlesbrough, Taylor from Oxford, Jamie Searle from Barnsley as well. But the main one is Ryan Innes coming in from Charlton. Ryan Innes obviously was at Newport at League 2, done all right. You know, he went to Charlton then, and he done all right for League 1. I think he's going to be in the main part of that Forest Green back line. They've got an inexperienced manager at the helm, Horseman I think it is, but the whole saga that went on them during pre-season. But they have lost some big players as well. Billy Cargill's left the club. Hendry and McGee, as we know, have gone to Tranmere. And obviously Stevenson's gone to Portsmouth. O'Keefe has left the door for Barnsley. And Bagayoko as well, the striker, has gone to Scotland to play for Dundee. So I can easily see Forest Green being above that 10th place mark, but I can also see them dropping 12th, 11th, something like that. But Forest Green in 10th, let's get into the teams missing out on the playoff. In 9th then, I have gone with Mansfield Town. Now this is going to shock a lot of people putting Mansfield Town in 9th. They have done some unbelievable business, and based off the business, I would say their playoffs minimum. So I'll explain why I've put them in 9th. They finished 8th last season. Like I said, Billy Cargill's come through the door. McDonald from Bristol Rovers. Will Swan from Nottingham Forest. They brought in Williams from Cambridge, and obviously Aaron Lewis from us. And they've not really lost much. Obviously, Danny Johnson has gone, Knowles has gone, and Wallace has gone as well. But, look at that squad. Look at the players they've brought in. Clough in charge as well. Everything screams minimum playoffs. And the reason why I've not got them to get the playoffs is purely based off last season. Last season, final 4 or 5 games of the season, they needed to basically not lose games, and their form towards the end of the season was stuttering, and ultimately they missed out on the final playoff place by, I think, either a goal, I think they needed to score 1 more goal on the final day, which would have took it above Salford City, and they just didn't. And I don't think they've got that real sort of bottle in the big moments, in the big games, and hence why I've put Mansfield to just miss out in 9th. In 8th place then, and agonisingly missing out on the playoffs, I have gone for an unbelievable rise from last season. I've gone with Doncaster Rovers. Finished 18th in League 2 last season after getting relegated. An awful showing. Fans were fuming. A couple of managerial changes at the helm, at the keep mo, and really never found any continuity with players, management, tactics and anything like that. But I think they've got a real tactical approach now and a real pedigree to go on and push on this season. And like I said, the teams I've put 8th, 9th, 10th could easily get playoffs, but it is so tight to predict. Few real notable signings. Joel Ironside coming in from Cambridge is an unbelievable deal, a very good deal from Doncaster Rovers to get that over the line. Broadbent coming in from Sheffield United as well. Jamie Sterry, fullback, coming in from Hartlepool, and Wood from Rotherham. A couple of loan signings as well, which I think the managerial and the coaching staff at Doncaster will get the best out of. In terms of players that have been let go, Aidan Barrow and Charlie Seaman have both gone. Charlie Seaman being a loan deal. Kieran Agard, Jonathan Mitchell, Roshan Williams, all released by the club, not offered a new contract. I think they're going to finish in 8th, just missing out on the playoffs. Let's have a look at the playoff 4 and see who I think has a chance to win a trip to Wembley. 7th place then, and taking the first playoff space, I've gone for another relegated team from last season, and this one is MK Dons, the highest achieving relegated teams from League 1 last season, and the signings that they've made have shown a real stigma of a 10. Alex Gilby, Harness coming in from Charlton, Matt Gillivray coming in for Burton, obviously he's going to be replaced by Max Crocombe, Smith coming in from Colchester, Williams from Bolton, and Cameron Norman from us. Some real huge signings from MK Dons that really are showing that sort of intent to do well this season. And no, I think the players they've brought in are all EFL experience level. They've all got that experience of playing in the EFL, playing League 1, League 2, which is what you want from a signing. Will Grigg has left the door. Bradley Johnson has left the door as well. Sully Kaikai, Josh McEachran, Dan Kemp has gone on loan to Swindon. And they've lost some other decent players as well, including the goalkeeper David Martin. So in terms of the business MK Dons have done, very structured, very fit to purpose, and I think they are going to have a very good season this year, MK Dons. It could be higher than 7th and maybe automatics, but I've gone MK Dons to finish in 7th. 6th place then in the playoffs, I've gone for the team that finished 6th in the playoff last season in Bradford City. Of course, they finished 6th last season, lost on aggregate to Carlisle United in the playoff semi-finals, and they have strengthened a team that finished 6th last season, bringing in McDonald from Exeter, O'Dore from Barnsley, Patterson, Alex Patterson from Harrogate, weakening a team in the league while strengthening themselves. And Oyogoke coming in from Brentford is a really exciting one. And add that to the squad that they had last season, Richard Smallwood at the club, people like that. And they've not lost an incredible amount of players. Yes, they've lost Oscar Feltfeld, Wood as well, also Aisha and Sonogo, but they've brought in players that already will strengthen a team that done so well last season. They finished 6th last season. I'm going to go 6th again for Bradford City this term. Fifth place, I've gone for the first promoted team out of the National League, and I've gone for Notts County. They finished second last season behind Wrexham and won the playoff final at Wembley, beating Boreham Wood in the final on penalties. Look, what a season Notts County had last season. Yes, it's the National League. Yes, it's playing against teams not as good as the teams in League 2, but to do what they've done in no matter what league it is, to be on whatever many points it was, but still finishing second. Everyone in the final just said they have to win, because otherwise it's going to be cruel for them to miss out on promotion after getting that many points. And the signings they've brought in, it just shows that they're ready for this league, and they're ready and they're hoping to make a double promotion. Jody Jones coming in from Oxford, he obviously was on loan at Notts County, and they've made that deal permanent. Randall coming in from Sutton. Stone coming in from Port Vale is a very good signing, but David McGoldrick done absolutely bits for Derby, last season, and they've managed to get him into the club at Notts County. I think that signing alone just screams intent, screams that they want to do well this season, and screams huge ambition, and I think that's exactly what's going on at the Meadow. Notts County, I've put you in 5th. But again, it could even be automatics. That is the scary thing. Let's get into the final playoff team. 4th place then in the League 2 season. This season, I've gone for Salford City. Again, Salford finished last season in 7th, losing out to their Manchester rivals in the playoffs, Stockport County. And again, Salford have been one of those teams last 3-4 years, guaranteed by everyone in the betting market and the punditry. They are going to get promoted. They are going to do it this year. Obviously, the class of 92, I think this will finally be the year that they really push on. I don't think they'll win the playoffs, but I think this year they're going to have a very solid season. They got into the playoffs last season by the skin of their teeth, and I think this one will be a very comfortable playoff finish. They brought in some very good players. Ashley has come in from Colchester. Cairns was obviously at Salford last season. He's come in from Fleetwood. Luke Gabbett has come in as well. McLennan and Wright on loan from Millwall. Some really good players. Again, just like Bradford, some good players into an already very good squad. In terms of outgoings, McLaughlin has left Salford for us. Newport. Lowe has left for Port Vale. Torre has gone to Stockport. Eastman, Nate, Sargent, Elliot Simos, all players that have left on free agents, providing they don't find a new club by now. And yeah, Salford City just missing out on automatic promotion to finish in 4th. Team finishing in 3rd and taking that first automatic promotion place. I've gone for an unbelievable rise from last season. We talked about AFC Wimbledon getting a good rise from last season and teams like that, but this is a massive rise from 17th last season. I've got Gillingham to finish in 3rd. Now, I said last season they're going to be a dark horse. Neil Harris is an unbelievable manager. I know he used to manage Cardiff, but we don't talk about that. Some of the players they had then was unbelievable as well. And they just really didn't hit the heights of where they should have been based off the manager, based off the club, based off the squad. And they've really gone and strengthened this window to say to the rest of the league, we're going to do it this year. And I think they are. They've brought in Max Clark from Stevenage, Matteson from QPR, Johnny Williams, as we mentioned, from Swindon, Ogie from Leyton Orient, Malone is a very, very good player, Scott Malone, and Ashley Naderson from Crawley. And in terms of the players that have left, yes, Scott Casket has gone, yes, they've lost Ben Reeves and Stuart O'Keefe, but apart from that, you look at the squad and it's definitely strengthened from last season. And I think they're going to be massive dark horses this year. I've gone big and bold and actually predicted them to do it. I don't know whether that's going to come to pass, but I've gone Gillingham to finish 3rd this season in League 2. With teams remain then, I've got 2 last teams in League 2, 2nd and 1st, between Stockport County and Wrexham. Look, I don't want to be predicting this, but I'm going to go with it. In 2nd, I'm going to go with Wrexham. Look, this really pains me to say, to predict, to even put this out as a video, but I do think that Wrexham are going to get automatically promoted next season. I hate it as a Newport fan. It despises me. I would love to just jump on here and say bottom of the league and relegated, but I just simply can't do it. It's to try and get me as many predictions right as possible, and I think Wrexham have just got the squad to do it. Phil Parkinson is a great manager for this level. They've brought in Will Boyle from Huddersfield, which is an absolutely great signing. They did win the National League last season. They've not really lost many outstanding players. Reece Hall-Johnson has left the club. Jake Hyde has gone to Yeovil, scored 2 against us in pre-season. And also, you know, they're obviously going to keep hold of Paul Mullin, Ben Foster, Ben Tozer. Some of these players that are just League 2 quality and scream more than League 2 quality. So yeah, I've gone for Wrexham to finish second. I hate to do it as a Newport fan. Don't pelt me in the comment section, Newport fans. I have to do it because I generally think that's what's going to happen. Let's have a look at who I think is going to win the League 2 title. The team that I've got to win the League 2 title is the team from Manchester, Stockport County. Last season I went to, obviously, Newport Stockport at Rodney Parade. They were absolutely superb. But I also went to the playoff final. Vlog is on the channel, Stockport versus Carlisle. And the amount of chances Stockport had in that final, they should have won it. They've got an unbelievable squad, which, for me, blows everyone in League 2 away. They finished 4th, like I said, last season, lost in the playoffs. How do you sort of recover from losing the playoff final? They've brought in Richardson on loan from Aberdeen, Louis Barry on loan from Aston Villa. They've brought in Nick Powell, former Manchester United player, Ibu Toure from Salford, Chadwick from Hull, and they've not really lost that much. Ben Barkley has gone to Carlisle, Davenport has gone to Morecambe, Hussey has left, Phil Badsley obviously retired, and they've not really lost that many big names, but they've brought in some real good talents along with the players that they've already got. Madden, you know, it's a very good squad. It's a very good squad, and it's one that I think just blows everyone else out of the water. So I've gone Stockport County to win the League 2 title this season. Here you are, lads. There is my prediction from 24th all the way to 1st in terms of where I think everyone will finish in League 2 this season. Make sure you like this video, comment your thoughts down below. Have I got one absolutely wrong? Have I got one spot on? Where have I put your team? Let me know all that in the comment section down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this video out as well with all of League 2 fans. That'll be absolutely much appreciated. So I've gone with my 24th to 1st of the season. I'll react to it at the end of the season. Please don't get offended by any of my predictions or where I've put your certain team. It is just all based off my opinion, based off the stats that I've seen and the transfers, etc, etc. Like, share and subscribe, like I say, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't hate me on this. Thanks for watching.